Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Time with Terry forum. We are so excited to be streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook in celebration of Terry McDonald's 50th anniversary with St. Vincent de Paul. At any point tonight, if you have a question for Terry, please post it as a comment. We will see it and be sure it gets to Terry. Also, it is not too late to donate and enter tonight's raffle. At any time tonight, if you donate, your name will be entered and you will have a chance to win an amazing hand-etched bottle of King Estate Pinot Gris. They've partnered with us to create only a few of these beautiful bottles in support of the McDonald Community Vision Fund, where all of tonight's donations are directly going. Now, without further ado, and in celebration of his 50th anniversary with SVdP and a lifetime of impacting and improving our community, here is Terry McDonald.
Well, I presume I'm unmuted. Is that true? Hello. Can you hear me? Well, somewhere along the line they'll come over.
I think you are live.
Well, if I'm live, then I'm going to get started. First of all, what I'd like to say is that none of what we've done over the last number of years would have been possible without you, the support of the community. Whether it's giving a bag of clothes, volunteering for the Egan Warming Centers, giving a cash donation, or volunteering for other programs, none of this is possible without community support. So just on behalf of those that work here and for me personally, thank you. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to create a community that's a better place. I'd like to talk a little bit ahead of time about kind of 4 areas that I think that are important to St. Vincent de Paul. And they're really about our housing initiatives, about our business developments, about our veterans programs, and then about the family programs. And then I'd like to also talk about kind of strategies and long-term stuff that are more macro discussions about how we're going to create a better community in this better area in the long term. So first of all, 2021, which is the last fiscal year that we've had, was a very challenging year. I don't think anybody can talk about it not being a challenging year, understanding that we're not even seeing each other than through a machine. At this time last year, we were struggling a lot with COVID-19 and figuring out how to respond and a whole bunch of other issues. So definitely the last years has been a real challenge for us. But there's been a lot of accomplishments. So one of them is that we started developing Iris Place, which is our housing project on River Road, on the corner of Howard and River Road, a 53-unit apartment complex that we wanted to develop for affordable housing, a combination of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. That will actually be finished this month. So it's not last year's accomplishment, but it's last year's and this month's, this year. But that's that 53-unit project will be finished on November 24th. And thereafter, we'll be doing a little bit of virtual touring. Of course, again, we're back to the COVID-19. But we plan on having people have the opportunity to take a look and see what we've accomplished. It's very affordable housing, very nice project, has lots of sustainable programs associated with it. Electric charging stations for vehicles, a sustainable community center that's resilient, be able to stand with whatever events we have out in that part of the world, whether it's tsunami or whatever else. And have independent power sources for it. So it's really quite an amazing project. And I encourage you, as we get closer to the end of the month, to have either a virtual tour or a personal tour, if you'd like to take a look at it. But it's a very, very nice project. We also have been developing some projects that we believe are very important for the future, and that is, we can't develop affordable housing fast enough using traditional methods. And so we're going to need to find different tools, different ways to develop affordable housing. And one of it is modular housing. Because of the donation of a very generous benefactor, we were able to develop a 5-unit basically modular unit at our 717 Highway 99 North site, which is behind Dollar General. It's the Dusk to Dawn site. That will be affordable housing for very low income individuals coming out of homelessness that are interested in living a clean and sober life. And we believe that that kind of modular housing, which can be developed relatively quickly, placed in any zoning area that is for an R1 or an R2 setting, I think is an interesting opportunity for us to develop affordable housing moving forward. The cost of affordable housing, developing regular stick-built housing, is really quite extraordinary. When I talked to a banker today, they were talking about 2- and 3-bedroom units in an apartment complex being built for $300 or $300,000 per unit. Extraordinary costs. This 5-living unit building was constructed and landed and ready to go for $200,000. So the effective cost per living unit is a fraction of the others. So we're looking at that kind of technology to figure out how we can expand the affordable housing in a much more rapid and robust manner that's actually sustainable into the future. Likewise, we know that over the last year, it's been very important for us to provide emergency respite. The number of homeless, for a variety of reasons, which I'll talk about a little bit later, has increased. And so in partnership with Lane County and the City of Eugene, we were able to rent 2 motels and house 120 homeless individuals in those 2 motels on the Franklin Strip that are basically a way to keep those often medically frail individuals out of living on the street. It's an important program, and it's one that I think that we're going to have to take a look at expanding and extending over the next couple of years. There's just too many medically fragile and elderly homeless showing up in programs to allow them to just live in a street setting or else in a very, very emergency shelter system. We need more of this type of housing. Likewise, the pallet shelters, that effort has been a really good effort that was sponsored by the City of Eugene and Lane County. And we put a number of those pallet shelters out. I think our total is well over 50 at this point. The point on that one is that the partnership we've developed with, whether it's at Veterans or whether it's Lane County or whether it's with Peace Health, this is an interesting new tool. So we know that people coming out of the hospital that are homeless, that have had a medical treatment and are not medically stable, don't have many resources to go back into the community. So they're often not eligible for a regular transitional setting because of finance. So they would often end up out in the street, which is a very, very precarious place for someone that's not medically stable. Working with Peace Health, they are now helping us sponsor a number of units next to the Lindholm Center on 99 that allow us to offer medical support for these families or these individuals while they're transitioning back into their homeless life in a way that's safe and respectful of their needs. That kind of partnership between whether it's Lane County, Peace Health, Willamette Treatment, or HIV Alliance is really important for us offering more and more services for individuals that are homeless in the community, especially vulnerable populations. We also know that we've done a lot of rent relief. So one of the things that came out of the CARES Act was that there was a lot of money that had to go out for rent relief for people that were behind on their rent because of COVID-19. We've taken a substantial amount of those funds from Lane County and distributed it to individuals and families throughout the community to prevent evictions as we've gone forward, and we're continuing that effort today. We also have been able to work with Lane County to help on the fire relief on the upper Willamette or upper McKenzie River Valley. So there was a need to have matching funds to a grant that the state was willing to offer to Lane County to provide funding to develop a solid waste treatment plant for Blue River. We were able to come up with those funds. We're working with funders throughout the state. And so the matching grant that was needed to make that program came forward came through us. And it's a way for us to multiply the efforts of what we're doing to make a larger community impact that's not directly St. Vincent de Paul, but it's definitely good for our community. Of course, I'm sure that you've read about the Safe Sleep program. Safe Sleep program is the one where we have the RVs that are scattered around the community for homeless housing and brought to a site at 3rd and Garfield and put into a safe place where people can put their RVs and camp and have services around that. That's programs run by Roxanne O'Brien, who does an amazing job on our emergency services side. 55 vehicles are there with a number of people in them that were previously on the street in a much more robust setting. That program has only been in place for about 2 weeks, and we've already placed one family into permanent affordable housing. So it's not just a respite off of the street, but a way for us to help moving people forward. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about tonight is about not just warehousing or emergency response, but how we can make a difference on moving people forward in their lives to get them back to a more viable situation in our community. One of the other programs that we've had that's been developed over the last fiscal year, which is 2021, is a partnership with Willamette Treatment. And that's the alcohol detox program here in Lane County that runs Buckley House and others. And having them create a clinic out at the 717 Highway 99 North site has really been an excellent new tool for us to give outreach to the families and individuals that are associated with the 717 program. That's the Dusted On program and other homeless services. So medical treatment, minor medical services, and of course, testing for COVID-19 are possible through that facility, as well as alcohol and detox programs. An excellent program and an excellent partnership, and would not have been possible if we had not found a way to partner with Lane Community College to get a couple of basically abandoned student classrooms hauled from the community college down to that site, rehabbed, and put into service for this purpose. This kind of partnerships and bringing other nonprofits together with St. Vincent de Paul is, I think, one of the keys to the future and how we're going to deal with the long-term issue of homelessness in this community. On the other sides of the organization, the business side, a year ago, during the pandemic, we were just rebuilding our store's operation. We had to shut everything down in March of last year for several months, and then we rebuilt our store's operation back up. We changed our business model. And one of the concerns was that were we going to be able to use this financial tool, which the stores are, to support efforts of St. Vincent de Paul into the future, given the very different atmosphere and the different programs that we were living with during this period of time. Staff really did a good job of changing the business model. And that's going instead of from a 9 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock in the evening business model to a 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock business model. And that has saved us a substantial amount of money on labor and staff, especially in a time when staff is not available. Well, I think we've all heard about that. And find a way to get those stores to be even more viable and more financially successful than they were in the past. So we're very happy to see that the stores are as robust as they were before. And that's even after losing 3 stores. The store on 555 High Street, right across from 5th Street Market, was too small to do the social distancing, as was the Aurora building. The store there on 11th and Oak was too small for, again, social distancing for retail, and the Lamb building. And interestingly enough, the Lamb building, which is on the corner of 11th and Hayes Street, which is affordable housing, but it had a store underneath it. We closed the store, but we converted that whole facility on the first floor that used to be retail into the SVF program that supported services for homeless veterans. So we have been able to increase our program base on that site as a result of having it taken out of a retail store and turned into a, I think, more robust service program to serve homeless veterans in this community. And speaking of homeless veterans, that's an area where we continue to be very robust in our service base. So when I talked to Foster Martinez, who's in charge of those programs the other day, he indicated that they're rehousing about 15 homeless veterans a month. So they're really making an effort to continue to do outreach and support for those homeless veterans that we see continuously showing up in the community and finding a way to get them to permanent affordable housing and supportive services around them. And speaking of that, one of the things that we also are developing is a 10-unit apartment complex on Green Lane out River Road over the next year. And that will be a 10-unit apartment complex with all 1-bedroom units for those homeless veterans coming off of the street to have permanent affordable housing moving forward. And we'll hopefully get that project finished next fall or winter. In addition to that, of course, we're looking to restructure a lot of the veteran housing projects. So that's the program that we worked with the City of Eugene and a number of other service providers to create homeless opportunities for veterans coming back from multiple deployments overseas. That program has been very successful, but we're basically redeploying some of the funds that are in that program to create multi-unit projects like the one on Green Lane. So I think that will continue to be a very successful program for us. Kind of jumping back onto the retail side, we've really had a series of struggles with our mattress recycling in California over the last year. One of the issues that we had last year, of course, was COVID-19, and that caused a substantial change in our employment base. But more importantly, in June of this year, we had a major fire at one of our facilities in Stockton that basically slowed down production on that facility to a dead halt. So half of the facility, there was an arson by a homeless person that started a dock fire and spread to the building. And we lost half of that facility to that fire. We're now tooled back up. The facility should be fully operational in the next 30 to 60 days. Along with the other two facilities, we're getting back into the position of being, again, the leading mattress recycler in the state of California, as well as nationwide. Something that we've been very proud of over the years. But there was a hiccup during that period of time. So what we believe we have is that we really streamlined those stores' operation and the business part of it to take more advantage of how we can move forward as an organization to create the capital that helps along with the community resources to make a more robust response to the community needs we have out there. First Place, of course, is the other program that we work a lot on is for homeless families. First Place Family Center has been able to increase its child care center in terms of number of youth that are being served there. The Girls Youth House on 33rd and Willamette Street continues to be robust. During COVID-19 last year, that program basically had very few young people in it because no one was going to school. It was all online. And so the population fell down to, I think, as low as 6 youth in that site during that period of time. It's now back up to basically full occupancy. And it continues to be an excellent program to allow young women who are still in school have the opportunity to finish their schooling without wondering where they're going to live and where they're going to sleep safely at night. So we're very proud of that program. The other thing is that we're working on a program associated with a major donor that is allowing us to develop an 8-unit apartment complex on the annex site at Fox Hollow and West Amazon. That will allow us to have a transition from people that are in the current shelter program to transition into this affordable housing and then move on to full viability over time. That's a lot that we've been doing over the last year. It's been a very, very busy year for us. But really moving back to more, oh, I'm sorry, Jack just jumped back in.
Reemerged. Sorry, Terry. Okay, we've had a lot of questions come in, and most of all, thank you so much, Terry. But before we get to those questions, we at SVdP have a quick surprise for you. In celebration of your 50th anniversary with SVdP,
Right now.
and also in celebration of the incredible leader you have been, not only for this organization, but the entire community, here's a video from us.
To be around Terry is to be around a kind of a delightful lightning rod.
He's a visionary, he's an entrepreneur.
Well, I think he's kind of brilliant.
And innovative and fun.
Terry's passionate, he's driven, and he's funny.
He's just a kick. Terry started when his father was running St. Vincent de Paul, and it was a little place out on West 11th. They had retail stores for recycling things, and they fixed household appliances and would sell those. That's what it was. But then Terry's vision began to expand it, and he is a completely devoted environmentalist. So recycling was a central focus, and the retail stores proliferated and more product came in. Terry ended up going to Europe to get furniture that they would throw in the landfills instead. Then a glass factory. He had all kinds of ideas.
Terry has an incredible bandwidth, which for St. Vincent de Paul has been a godsend, in that with the number of different things, the myriad of vision and mission steps that have to be taken for the company, you need somebody like Terry in order to kind of oversee that and shepherd things along. So I think that's the biggest attribute. I also think St. Vincent de Paul is unlike any other animal out there, in that although they provide an incredible amount of service for folks, I think the mission is driven by Terry, and his overall attitude and his approach to life drives the organization.
Lane County has one of the highest concentrations of homelessness in the United States. And so we're so fortunate that Terry happens to be the one in charge of the organization that has expanded to help meet the need. But I don't think there's any St. Vincent de Paul that's as large and supportive of the homeless community and so involved in so many different ways as the one in little old Lane County. So thank goodness we have Terry here.
And one of the reasons that I've always admired Terry is his compassion for the plight of many individuals and his compassion for the needs and different abilities of people that need special services and help along the way. And that kind of empathy for the various ways we find our lives and how we get through our lives really means a lot to me, and I always felt it meant a lot to Terry. And I appreciate him for that.
Terry subscribes to a leadership strategy that is leadership through service. And those are not lightly spoken words. You will often find Terry working alongside his staff. So for example, when Terry decided that adding a book department to each of his stores was worth doing, he had a hard time convincing his staff that that would be a good idea. Books are difficult to manage because they have to be sorted, they have to be organized. You have to have them arranged in genres and alphabetically in order for people to shop them. And his leadership team didn't think that they had the staff to do that. And so Terry spent months, every day in the afternoon, you would find him at the Division Street store, sorting books and putting them on shelves. Terry has a way of approaching a problem from the bottom up rather than from the top down.
Like the manufactured home parks that St. Vincent de Paul purchases and refurbishes in order to house more people, they just look like impossible problems to resolve. While I was here, he was involved in purchasing a couple of them up in Portland on Killingsworth, and the city of Portland and the nonprofits there had just thoroughly failed at finding a way to renovate these mobile home parks. And somebody heard of what Terry was doing down here, and he went up and took it on and made it a success. that's an illustration of how he'll look at the impossible, what appears to be the impossible, and find an avenue there. And it's inspirational, you know, people want to find a way to make his vision successful.
He will make a mark on our community for the better in so many ways, not only as a role model for service to the most vulnerable in our community, but to the commitment to moving our whole community to a place where we see everybody, we serve everyone, and that is not only the mission of St. Vincent de Paul, but there's a global vision of that he shared all over the world.
He really is my best grandpa.
Terry, I so have loved working with you all these years. It's been a great privilege to learn about St. Vincent de Paul through your eyes, and then to be a part of St. Vincent de Paul with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dad, for always being there for me as I navigate this world, but also being there for the entire community. People know to come to you whenever they need something or want to think creatively about how to solve a problem, and you've always thought outside the box, and that's how we move our world forward. I appreciate you so much.
Terry, nobody will ever know how many lives you've saved through your efforts, your leadership of St. Vincent de Paul, and everything that St. Vincent de Paul has accomplished because of your leadership. And I just want to thank you for everything you've done for all of our community members who live on the street, live under bridges, and are just trying to survive and trying to successfully address the difficulties they have. And I'm so grateful for you that you've provided a place for them to go where they can find their way back into living in a home and living a healthy and successful life. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to work with you and for you and learn so much from you about how an organization as large and diverse and dynamic as this one can be run so successfully.
Hi, Terry. I am actually really happy to be able to thank you. I have appreciated both our working relationship, partnership, and friendship that has helped us do a lot of good things for this community. The community thanks you, and I thank you. And I truly believe that donors will continue to give to keep this work going. It's important and fundamental to our community.
And I appreciate the support that the community has given to St. Vincent de Paul, and I feel that, you know, the McDonald Community Vision Fund is an important way to continue the mission, to continue the support financially that the organization needs to be supportive of the continuing and growing needs of this community. And I would just ask you to consider contributing, donating, and participating in the fund or in St. Vincent de Paul to continue the good work that's been done.
From all of us, Terry, thank you. Thank you, Terry. Hey, there's the bottle. So everyone, thank you for tuning in. And the best way to ensure that Terry's incredible work continues to grow, innovate, and help countless lives around us is to donate to the McDonald Community Vision Fund. And as Terry was just holding that beautiful bottle from, actually, Terry, would you want to show the other side too?
That one?
Yeah. That's hand etched from King Estate, and there's a donation link below the video. So while Terry begins answering all of your wonderful questions, please feel free to fill out that form and support our community's future. So now, the first question for Terry. That's pulling up right now. All right, first question. How will St. Vincent de Paul address the large local unhoused population?
Well, actually, Don Keeley did a good job of kind of outlining what the problem was this morning in an editorial at the Register Guard, and it framed the problem, I thought, very well. No two human beings are alike. Everyone has special needs. And as a result of that, you're not going to be able to address this as some kind of peanut butter spreading over a piece of bread. So what you need to do is truncate what the issues are, but basically work on a way to find a way to treat everyone with dignity and respect, and then find out what their needs are so that you can move them forward to more stability. And I really believe that Roxanne O'Brien and her programs associated with the Lindholm Center are doing that. So, feed people, care for them, engage personally with them, listen to them, be sympathetic to what their needs are, firm about what rules are. You can't do bad things and to yourself and others and expect to have good outcomes. But basically, a compassionate caring is what I think is the best answer to this, and we're working on that. And I think that one of the things that you don't often hear about is the number of people that Roxanne and her group over at Lindholm Center moved to permanent affordable housing that's successful in the community. And she's remarkably expert, and her staff is really great at finding ways to get people not only stabilized in their various emergency system, but get them moved on to permanent housing. That's one of the things that the quints that we're talking about is we could develop more of those quint type of units that are extremely affordable. It's like $200 for living space per month. Would be an excellent way for us to move that ball forward. The other thing is partnerships. I can't do this kind of work alone. No organization can be everything to everybody. And so that's partnerships, whether it's with Homes for Good, which is a housing authority, or the Willamette Treatment, or HIV Alliance, or Lane Shelter Care, all Catholic Community Services. All these organizations offer a different piece of the puzzle to us. And nonprofits really need to work together in this community, and they do. The truth is that this is not a competition for funding by nonprofits. This is how the best use of those funds is going to be used. And so, we really try and support our other nonprofit partners in the community to the best of our ability for the things that they do. At the same time, we try and truncate what the issues are so that we're not overlapping services, but supporting each other in our efforts. So how are you going to address the issue? One person at a time. And then you're going to do it with sympathy and compassion. So the question on whether it's sustainable or not, the short answer is no. And that's because over the last couple of years, especially in the last 12 months, Lane County, City of Eugene, but primarily Lane County, has received a fair amount of money coming from the federal government that has to be flushed through to create housing opportunities. It's very likely a lot of those programs are going to start dwindling away, and they're going to start diminishing, which is why it's really important for us to come up with some innovative strategies on how we're going to create new tools around this. And that's why we're talking about things like the modular housing, mobile homes, modular housing developments, small unit construction, but finding ways to get ways for people off the street to afford something that's affordable. I mean, one of the big issues that we see and continue to see is that, you have people that are on a fixed income, $770 a month, who have no way to afford a housing unit in our community. We have to find a way to develop more of that. And I believe that ultimately we're going to have to do this more as modular housing instead of just the regular stick-built housing. And again, I think it's a very cost-effective strategy, and we're working a lot on that right now, trying to figure out how to get more of that modular type of housing out in the marketplace. So I think it's an important strategy. All right, what's next? Oh, 10 years. Well, 10 years. So one of the things that I believe is very important for this company and for the community to recognize is that the town that I grew up in over 50 years ago is not going to be the same town as we move forward. Number one, we're going to continue to see an influx of human beings from other places in this country moving into the state of Oregon, especially the Willamette Valley. And that's largely because of climate change. Climate change will make this a very attractive, and is a very attractive place for people to live. It's one of the more affordable, it may sound strange, but it's one of the more affordable places to come to live. But what we know is that as more climate does indeed endanger the lives of people elsewhere, they will find places to go. And the Willamette Valley is going to be one of those places. So I think that we're going to have to continue to find ways to grow our services around affordable housing, but also economic development and sustainable practices. So carbon neutrality, I think, is one of the really most important areas we're moving. And I don't know if people know it or not, but we do a lot of greenhouse gas and CFC recovery. That's chlorofluorocarbons from refrigerators, and we just shipped off to market, to diverted product, 3,500 pounds of Freon gas today. This is gas that would have been released into the atmosphere, but 3,500 pounds of it was shipped out of this organization today to be recycled back into other uses or else destroyed, so it's not going to hurt our ozone layer. That plus the other programs we're doing on sustainability, I think, are really important, whether it's photovoltaic expansion, whether it's more affordable housing or housing that has very energy efficient housing associated with it, whether it's super good sense housing, whether it's changing out the old pre-76 mobile homes and replacing them with energy efficient units. We just need to find a way to decrease our carbon footprint. And I think we're leading in that discussion. So we're working right now with Lane County Solid Waste to come up with a way to look forward over the next 10 to 15 years to make sure that we are recycling all the greenhouse gases out of refrigeration units in this region. And if we're successful on that, we will have created a way to actually put one finger in the dike of the problem that we have associated with carbon footprint. The other part on that one is that the cost of freight is going to have to be addressed as a region. I'm hoping that out of the transportation bill that's currently actually being discussed right now in Congress, I'm hoping that there will be an opportunity to create an intermodal port, a way for container traffic to be brought into this region. This has been something I've been talking about for 20 years, but we've got to move away from sending trucks up and down roads, putting them on trains instead, so we can move product around. We're going to continue to move product around. Trust me on this one. But we need to find a way to move it in a way that creates a lot smaller carbon footprint, and that intermodal traffic would help do that. So whether it is working with the county and the cities on how we're going to decrease our carbon footprint around recycling and waste-based businesses, whether it's working with communities such as Blue River or Oak Ridge around dealing with fires and the continuing fires that we're likely to see in this region, whether it's talking about how we deal with the South Hills of Eugene and fire emergency, as we're concerned about that particular part of the city igniting and going up into flames. All those things are things that we're working on in conjunction with our public partners and other nonprofits in the community to come up with long-term emergency strategies, but also resilience. Next. Now, decision in your time seems to have the biggest impact on the organization of the community. 1985. We were in a profound recession in 1985. People that lived here remember it was when the timber industry basically collapsed. And the decision by the board and the staff of St. Vincent de Paul was that this was a community issue. It wasn't an issue of somebody else. It was our community and it was our need, and that we needed to find a way to address this in a way that would create capital and resources over the long term. And it was during that period of time that we developed the waste-based strategy that we have today. I think that probably created the largest single change in terms of what we did. So it was not a matter anymore of passing the hat or waiting for somebody to drop money in a tin plate. It was, no, we're going to have to find a way to make the money ourselves. to create businesses out of what we're doing and do it in a sustainable manner. And that's been the mantra for the last 40 years. So I think that's probably the single greatest decision we've made. Oh, what's the appropriate balance between meeting and immediate? Oh, that's always so hard. So do you save a person tonight, or do you find a way for them to be viable in the long term? The short answer is that you have to do both. And so that's what I like about the programs and the case management that Roxanne and her staff are doing over at the Lindholm Center in 99. So you need to get people into a safe setting as much as you can immediately. So as we now move into the winter season, we know there will be winter events. We need to move people in, and we need to get them as safe as possible. But at the same time, and it needs to be done in a very cost-effective manner, but at the same time, you need to be identifying what their needs are, identifying what their opportunities are, and working with those individuals to find as many opportunities for long-term solutions for them as possible. So it's a combination of compassion now, but also working strategically to find a way to get people back into housing. Now, having said that, that's a cheap answer on my part, because right now, affordable housing in Lane County is an oxymoron. We must find a way to develop more affordable housing at a more rapid pace in a cost-effective manner with resources that we have and the resources we have around us. And again, I believe that modular housing is likely to be one of those solutions. It may be the solution, in my opinion. What's next? Oh, well, it's easy. Do what you're doing now. Be interested, be participating in the issues, be an active member in the community, have the compassion that you have to do something for people out there. Continue to send us your bags of clothes, but more than anything else, treat people kind of like you'd like to be treated yourself. It really is about the golden rule. We can't do this by handing down to one another. We can't somehow just give $1 and make a difference. Say dollars are happy, but really it's about us as a community. So those individuals that are more dysfunctional, they have to have a compassionate answer to them. Those that are not following rules, they have to have a firmer answer. Those that are in a life situation that they have no choices, we need a lot of compassion. And those are the elderly and the frail and the increasing number of people over the age of 50 that we're seeing homeless that are on a fixed income. We can't make solutions for those folks just out of the air. This requires construction. This requires compassion and finding ways to get the zoning and everything taken care of to make sure that those people have a place to live. That's going to require work for all of us. And it's really about coming together as community. And if there's anything that I think that we've accomplished over the last 50 years, is the degree to which St. Vincent de Paul is a catalyst for change based upon the larger community. That's hard. My fondest memory? Oh, that's a hard one. Three fondest. All right, that's easier. One of my fondest memories. It was when we decided to create, when we worked with the community to create the Egan warming centers over 10 years ago, and finding a way to create that emergency response after he had died on the streets. And coming together to create that system basically in the space of a few months, I think that was an amazing, wonderful thing. It talked about community as a whole, and again, bringing people together. In 1989, creating the interfaith emergency shelter system. That was another one of those systems where we had no way to deal with homeless families, and there was no services and there was no housing for them, and finding a way to get those people in off the street in a compassionate manner, working with our faith communities across the board. I think it was one of the amazing opportunities that we took and made it possible. I think one of the other ones is, and this will sound weird, is working with the St. Vincent de Paul of Alameda, California, that wanted to develop a program around waste-based businesses in Alameda County. It's Oakland, California. The Alameda St. Vincent de Paul had asked me to come down and help them develop a waste-based business like we were doing in Oregon in 1999. And after I had raised a bunch of money and created a template of how you can do mattress recycling, I said, well, there's a need to do mattress recycling, and the counties will pay you to do it, and it'll create long-term sustainable jobs, and it will be something where 1% of the waste stream disappears, and it would be a good thing for everybody. Strangely enough, they said, there's nobody that is doing mattress recycling effectively or cost effectively as a business in the United States. We're not going to do it. And so I prevailed upon them, saying, I've raised a lot of money and I got the business plan. Let's do this. And they said no. And I said, well, if you don't want to do it, I want to do it. And so we had an agreement where I would do business in California as a nonprofit, but with a different name, DR3, Divert, Reduce, Reuse, Recycle. Anyhow, we do business in California as DR3, and we developed the first commercially viable mattress recycling operation in the world in the year 2000. And we continue to be the largest mattress recycler in the United States today. And so we basically created an industry out of a failure of another nonprofit that didn't want to do what we did. So I get that. That's kind of a fun one. Well, so what I really like about the future for St. Vincent de Paul is the degree to which it has become an anchor institution in the community. So, when I started with St. Vincent de Paul, it was a very small organization, very parochial organization, and a very limited vision. But over the years, we've been able to work with you and the community and with staff to create an organization that does not believe in bounds. It does not believe in walls. It does not believe that this is none of our business. It believes that the community and the health of this community, it belongs to all of us. And the degree to which we have to find a way to find solutions to that no good work is outside of the venue of this organization, is what I like most about St. Vincent de Paul moving into the future. And I believe that legacy will outlast me. My first 50 years here is first 50 years, but I don't think I'm going to get a second 50 years. But the point is, I think we've developed a culture and a way of looking at business and life, both through you, the donors and supporters of this organization, the staff, and the members of the St. Vincent de Paul Society, that really gives us a unique opportunity to take this business model and culture and make it possible to project it into the future. So I believe that we have created a flexible, usable, creative, and exciting way to create long-term solutions that I can't even imagine today, but that we can respond to in the future. That it? Last question. What resources do you need from individuals and separately businesses? Well, so I would say on that one, first of all, anybody listening to this probably is doing most of the things that I would ask you to do any time, which is support the mission, support the community, support the activities, and support the compassion that we all believe to work together. But I really believe that we need to really be thinking in terms of very strategic issues around sustainability, carbon footprint, and global warming, and that is a responsibility for all of us, individually and collectively. We need to decrease our carbon footprint and take it seriously. We need to be instilling this value into our next generations. And we also need to be looking forward to how we're going to be a more socially just community. For better or for worse, I wish it was different. But if you were born American, you have a substantial amount of bias associated with people of color. It's just the way it is. I can't talk enough about that because I believe it's in our DNA. And that until such time as we acknowledge that and find a way to move past it, we will continue to repeat the mistakes of the last 300 years of finding a way to create a caste system in our society that permanently disadvantages people that are really assets to our community and should not be treated badly, but we do treat them badly because of race, creed, or color. And that is something that we all need to take responsibility for and move our communities forward. So finding a way to, again, establish the golden rule, which I believe very strongly in a way for all of us individually and collectively to make a more perfect union, a more socially just society. Okay, you're back.
Muted. Hello. Thank you so much, Terry. And thank you all for tuning in tonight. We've been receiving donations throughout tonight, so thank you all, not only for your continued support over the years, but for your support tonight. We will be announcing the raffle winner on Monday, so if you all donate anytime during this weekend, your name will also be put in that raffle. Yes, for that beautiful bottle. We at SVdP are so thankful for you, Terry. And we're also so thankful for you all who are tuning in and supporting us. Thank you all for working with us for so many years to make our community a better place. Hope everyone has a great weekend and good night.